Everyone, when it comes to Russell Westbrook and a potential trade, I don't see one happening anytime soon. I really think the Lakers are going to at least go into the season with Russ, give it a handful of games or so, and then kind of reevaluate and take a step back from there. However, I do think if at any point a real offer that makes sense is on the table, the Lakers may pull the trigger on it. And I do think the closer we get to the trade deadline, the more likely a real quality offer for the Lakers will happen, primarily because of Victor Wembanyama, right? He's the guy that everybody's going to be trying to tank for, and 30, 40 games into the season, teams are going to kind of go, okay, well, we're here. If we get rid of these guys here, then we could end up down here and have a chance for Victor, right? That's very likely going to be the case. And not just the Lakers, but I think many teams are really going to benefit from the Victor and even just Scoot Henderson, that whole, that duo, as well as just this draft in general. This is supposed to be a very deep draft, and I really think a lot of teams are going to try their best to try to, even if you have a 2% chance of getting Victor, as long as you have a chance to get Victor, I think a lot of teams are going to take it. And so I think the Lakers may really be able to capitalize. But we don't know what the future assets and things like that could come on the market. For all we know, it could be a star, it could just be other role guys. There could be, a combination of things, maybe multi-team deals, things like that. But one thing that we do kind of have an idea of right now is two trades in particular. One is one that was mentioned for a long time that may or may not be on the table anymore. And then one is the trade that could happen right now if the Lakers really wanted to. So we'll start with that one, and that is the Indiana Pacers trade. Now, the question I want to ask is, which of these two trades are your favorite? Which two of the trades would you most likely want, right? Which ones do you think would work the best? Now, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner is the one that many people immediately go to. This is the trade that if the Lakers gave up both firsts right now, this could get done. Issue is, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner have looked terrible so far in preseason, both of them. And that is a little bit of a concern. Is it just kind of the situation they're in and the environment, and they know that look, these guys don't want us here, and that whole situation, and it's just kind of rough, so maybe a change of scenery would be really beneficial for them. I still don't think, even if they did kind of get back into their normal form, I still don't think it's worth both firsts. But, let's say for both of these trades, let's say it's for one first. Let's say that the Pacers say, we'll do it for one first, and you could get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. Yes, this would be great, right? It doesn't really solve our wing defensive problem, but we have a solid big. Anthony Davis can play the 4 full time. He doesn't have to worry about playing the 5. Unless Miles Turner gets hurt, which he is very injury prone, so that's a bit of a concern for me. But nonetheless, if he can work, you'd have arguably, if not the best defensive front court in the league. I think personally it would be the best defensive front court. Question is, would those two be able to work? Would they be able to make it work, right? Because we've seen Miles Turner kind of try to work with other bigs before, like Sabonis, for example, and it just didn't work out. They ended up trading Sabonis. Granted, Miles Turner had to play the 4 in that situation, so maybe it would be a better natural fit because Miles Turner wants to play the 5, and Anthony Davis, he wants to play the 4, so you got a more natural compromise there. Buddy Hield, I don't think would solve all of our shooting, but I definitely think it would help. A lot of people, from what I've gathered, kind of feel like Buddy Hield is going to change the fate of the Lakers shooting-wise, and it's not. Look, he is, the second most makes behind Steph Curry and an incredible three-point shooter, no doubt. But it's going to take more than one three-point shooter to really change the fate of the Lakers. Unless he's taking 23s a game just by himself and knocking them in at a 40% rate, we're still not going to be a great shooting team. He might help, but in reality, it's just we need more than one three-point shooter to really change what we need. But nonetheless, it's a very solid trade. And I do think that this is a trade that would make us better. Does it make us a contender? Some people really believe it does. Me personally, I kind of don't. I think it has the potential of making us better. But I think if Russ was to work, I think the impact he could have would be greater than what both of these guys would offer. Because Russ is a guy that can single-handedly take over a game. He's a guy that can single-handedly win you a game. We've seen him do that. Where Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, if Anthony Davis and LeBron James aren't playing, these two guys aren't probably going to, step it up to the point where you're going to win a game. Where Russ, he can go out there and put up a 30-point triple-double still. We saw it even last year in an atrocious year. But I do think Buddy Hield and Miles Turner might be a more natural, fluid fit, although I don't think it solves all of our issues and all of our needs. I think it solves a need. I don't really think we need Miles Turner. I just think that he's kind of just the icing on the cake. I think Buddy Hield solves the need more than anything. But nonetheless, I do think this is a very solid trade. Now, next up is the Hornets trade. Now, the reason the Hornets trade has kind of came back into the spotlight again and kind of makes a lot of sense is primarily because LaMelo Ball is very likely out for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, maybe even longer, and the Hornets may very well go into full tank mode. So you have guys like Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, maybe even a PJ Washington. All those guys that could very well be expendable, and the Hornets would very likely be willing to move off of at the chance to go get Victor, right? Because if they could pair Victor with LaMelo Ball, I mean, you got quite the dynamic duo going forward. And I think depending on what you could get from the Hornets, I think one, the Hornets deal would be cheaper, and two, I think if you could get the right package, the Hornets deal overall would be better. Now, Gordon Hayward, very likely the Hornets would want to move off of Hayward, and if Hayward can stay healthy, he solves essentially everything. Because he's a solid defender. He's not the greatest defender in the world. He's not a lockdown defender, but he's a very underrated defender. People have this perception of him just not being a very good defender, and it's just not the case. Even if you look up his defensive stats and rating, like, he's actually a really good defender. But he's also a great three-point shooter, a guy that can play the point forward position, a guy that's got size, all of those things. My biggest concern is, can he stay healthy? And I don't trust that he can. And you don't want to have to commit to all that money and all of those things if he can't stay healthy and it doesn't work. Now, if he does stay healthy and it does work, then, I mean, I think he would be a huge, huge factor on this team. Kelly Oubre, I think, would be nice too. That usually seems to be the pairing, and then it's like, well, you could probably get like a Plumlee or a Scary Terry, somebody like that. That usually seems to be the case when these rumored trades end up happening. And I do think something like a Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, and Scary Terry would be a pretty solid package. Now, Scary Terry, I think, is, Terry Rozier just is kind of like a little bit redundant, in my opinion, just because it's like you already have Kendrick Nunn, and Kendrick Nunn and Terry Rozier are essentially the same player. They really are, in so many ways. And I think that that it could be redundant, but it could work too. Because you could always have one of those two guys on the court and always have that scoring threat guard. You could even play them together at times and very likely just have both of them be able to just create, play on the ball, play off the ball, so many things. You could have that interesting point of attack with both of them that could really work. So if you could give up Russ and say like a winning Gabriel or something to be able to take on Hayward, Oubre, and Rozier, I think that's pretty solid. I actually think that may be better than the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner because you still get the shooting and you get more depth and you solve your wing defense, which is the biggest issue. I really don't think the center spot in general is going to be as bad as many people kind of think it will be. I think we're going to be pretty solid at the center position. Plus, I think crucial key games, Anthony Davis plays the 5 anyway. So I think, you could actually have, if you wanted to, you could have like a LeBron James, Anthony Davis, LeBron, Kelly Oubre, and Hayward, and, say a Patrick Beverly, or even run. You could have kind of LeBron and Hayward kind of play the guard position and, run your offense through them, which they're both very capable of. LeBron, we won a championship with as point guard. But you could even do something like maybe Walker, right? And then have Hayward, have Oubre, LeBron, and Davis. That's a big lineup full of three-point shooting and defense and switchability and depth and ball movement. Like, that covers all of your bases. And we go from being a very small team to a pretty good-sized team that could really make some noise and really make an impact. But ideally, like, in my opinion, I think the best package, if the Lakers could, would be Kelly Oubre, Terry Rozier, and then if you could get a PJ Washington. Because then PJ Washington, in the games that Davis plays the 5, you could have PJ Washington play the 4. You get that young player that kind of makes up for like the loss of a draft pick, things like that. I think could really be beneficial for the Lakers, because at least you're getting something of long-term value for that asset that you give up. You're greatly helping the Hornets here, right? One, you're moving off of a ton of salary for them. Not only are you moving off of a ton of salary for them, but you're also allowing them to get into the tank race for Victor even more than they already are, because they're already in the position to be able to tank for Victor. This just kind of ensures that they're probably going to be one of the worst teams, and they don't have to rush Melo back at this point. You kind of just keep prolonging that injury as long as you can, and just kind of like, hey, he's still trying to recover, and that kind of thing. I think that is something that you could actually do and kind of get away with, and everybody knows what you're doing, but, what are you going to do? And I think that if the Hornets were able to win the Victor sweepstakes, even if the Lakers won the championship with this trade, it would be completely justifiable. It would make complete sense, because it's like, yeah, the Lakers won a championship, but we have potential to win several championships in the next few years. Not only do we have LaMelo Ball, but we also have Victor. So good luck to the rest of the league the next 10 years. Like, that is a pretty good position to be in. And I think, if you're going to embrace the tank, you want to move off guys like PJ Washington and stuff like that. And he's a guy that they've considered trading and has been in trade rumors and even looked into trading him before. So it's not a guy that they're extremely high on. You no longer have Bridges, things like that. So, like, why not? If you could get, like I said, a Kelly Oubre, that solves some of the three-point shooting, and it solves that wing defender, right? So now you got that. You get Terry Rozier, which, you got to take somebody of salary for it. I just don't think that they're just going to do, Kelly Oubre and, like, Plumlee and, something like that. But maybe you could move off of, like, one or two guys. Like, maybe you could move off of, like, a winning Gabriel, maybe get a Plumlee also, and then maybe... whoever. Like, the Lakers could figure it out. Lakers could work out a way to maybe if you could get like 2 or 3 guys. But if you could end up with PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre, Terry Rozier, for like I said, Russ and say Winning Gabriel, I think that's great, because you get your replacement of Winning Gabriel and an upgrade in PJ Washington, right? So you get a guy, he's very likely going to have to come off the bench, but he's gonna get a lot of minutes. He'll be fine, especially with his age and youth and versatility and stuff like that. You're gonna be able to do a lot with him. So you have that there, or you just play Davis at the 5 and Washington at the 4. There's that, and now LeBron doesn't have to play the 4. Stuff like that. You could go that route. But in general, I think the Hornets deal could potentially be a better deal, and I think you could get that deal done for a lot cheaper. Like, I really do. I don't think you'd have to pay a ton to get that deal done. And I think it's something that could work out. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Which trade would you prefer? Would you rather have the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner deal, get the big center so Davis can just play, the 4 full time, and you also get Buddy Hield, so you get that shooter. Again, it doesn't really solve our wing depth issue. It doesn't really solve our just multitude of guards, but you do get a big center. You're going to be pretty good defensively down low, which could be very solid. Miles Turner also has the potential of stretching the floor. I don't really like what I've seen from them this preseason. They've looked pretty bad, like pretty bad. And it's not just that they're missing shots. Like, if you actually watch them play, they just look like two guys that either just don't want to be out there, or they're just like, they haven't played basketball for like a month. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, they don't look good at all. So little concerning there, but I do think that is a really solid move if it was to happen. Or do you prefer, the Charlotte deal where you could get, a combination of, take your pick. Let me know down in the comment section. But somewhere along the lines of Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, Terry Rozier, PJ Washington, and Plumlee. Like those 5 guys, I think the Hornets would actually move off of. So what's like 2 or 3 of those guys that you'd be interested in? I think if you could, my point is, like, if you could get PJ Washington, then you can move off of Gabriel. So, you could give up Gabriel and Westbrook, get like a PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre, and Terry Rozier. Or, maybe you do take on Hayward, and just take a shot on Hayward at that point, especially if you don't have to give up picks, or like if you don't have to give up like any firsts or like a heavily protected first. If you're like, hey, we'll take Hayward and his money, but we want Kelly Oubre and we want PJ Washington, and we'll give you, like a pick swap and, 2 or 3 seconds. If you could do something like that, I wouldn't mind that at all, because you got to keep in mind with the Hornets deal is there's value in that deal that negates just the negative that Russ is. Because the Hornets are very likely not going to play Russ, although they could, but I think the whole point would be to just embrace the tank. And if they do embrace the tank, there's inherent value on a multitude of levels with the Hornets deal. Because one, you're taking, and you have likely the best chance to go get Victor. So right then and there, that's a benefit that needs to be added to the equation. But also all of the salary we're taking on for multiple years. Like this would basically be our team for the next 3 years. So we're doing you a huge solid in clearing your books, but we're also giving you the best opportunity to go and tank for Victor. So that right there negates the Russell Westbrook, you have to trade a pick for Russ type thing. We are greatly helping them. So now at that point, it basically becomes an even swap. But I do think you'd have to give up something. So if you're giving up something, I don't think you'd have to give up a first. But, maybe you give up, like I said, a 28 pick swap, and you give up a couple seconds or something like that. I think that could work. I think you could get away with it. And I think it would make sense for both teams. But anyway, again, what do you think? Again, those are my thoughts and opinions. Good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. However you feel, let me know down in the comment section below.